I was much more interested in a language of architecture that mediated between what the original architect's intent was and how that had altered over time, and the idea that I'm not interested in it being clearly defined as my work.
The Inspiring People project was essentially the name that we gave to a major capital campaign, which was the biggest transformational project that the National Portrait Gallery has ever done. And obviously it was to transform the building and to appoint a fantastic architect. But it was also to, of course, rehang the collection, reinterpret the collection in terms of the labels and how we display them. So it was kind of everything all at once, top to bottom, inside out, which is very exciting. But of course, the building is crucial in that. We did research about a decade ago into our audience, and crucially we talked to people who'd never been and tried to understand why that was and why they felt that the gallery wasn't for them. There was some love for the building in terms of its historic nature, but I think a general consensus that it was quite dark, that we could probably make the collection feel more vibrant, more relevant.
Of course, you need to first look back really carefully. I prioritize the visitor's experience and how things function and that whether they're beautiful or not. You're there to look at the paintings and the sculptures and to learn about Britain. You're not there to look at the architecture. You begin with Ewan Christian's original building, designed to be the National Portrait Gallery, so it's a very specific design. We look really carefully at his work. Part of the process of going to a great institution, you arrive in a beautiful space and then you move into the building. It's a place where you can see the facade and see the welcome. Creating a new north-south entrance sequence was, for me, probably the most important move, which included a new public space. From that public space, creating a bridge that crosses the double height area, which lets light into the basement, and then cutting 3 doors where windows had been to create 3 really majestic bronze doors with Tracy Emin's wonderful etchings of the portraits of women. And then moving from that into this new hall, which has Nissen Richards' first piece of busts on a plinth, which again welcomes people. You arrive and you're looking at people from the past centuries sort of face to face, which is really fantastic. The fact that 99% of the people who use that sequence assume it's always been there, because it just feels like it's always been there, is for me a great thing.
We've understood and celebrated the original architecture to make sure that we were observing everything that was special and significant about the heritage and celebrating that whilst making the transformational change for the future. Tracy Emin's doors present 45 women to the visitor, and they're a fantastic counterpoint to the males who sit in the roundels of the architectural elevation.
For the first time, we really made sure that the building and the collection were working together hand in hand rather than working against each other. And one example of that is, for the first time, we were able to have all the windows open, but show the collection beautifully.
Within the galleries, what we've done is return the windows so that you can enjoy the light and the relationship that those galleries once had with the wider context of London.
We worked really closely with Jamie and his team so that there isn't this sort of jumping of light, so that it feels very seamless. Opening out and creating lighter and brighter spaces was really our starting point. Colour has given a sense of time. It's also been able to make people feel another time or feel an emotion that we wanted them to.
We would see that people would get gallery fatigue. You know, they were walking through those spaces that were quite dark, had lost their natural light, and people were starting to get sort of tired.
It doesn't have that same sense of immediate requirement that you get through the door and you get active. You can take your time and take it over as you wish.
When we designed the new benches, which have the S-curve of Charing Cross Road in the back of the bench, we made the armrests at all sides. I think on the second day that it was open and the place was unbelievably packed, I came up onto the second floor and there was an elderly man sound asleep in one of our benches. And I was like, perfect. One of the most important things about this piece of work is that it was about opportunities to take underutilized spaces and make them public. And that allowed us to create new galleries and a new learning centre, which is a really important aspect of the project. It allows the learning team to just provide services well beyond what they ever were able to do before. And it's used constantly.
I mean, the response when we reopened was probably even better than we could have hoped. And I think the fact that we managed to strike a very balanced, measured, positive but honest take on British history is really a testament to everyone involved.
There's now a much wider range of people coming through the doors, partly because they're represented on the walls, but partly also because they can experience the gallery in new ways.
The number of disabled visitors in the first 6 months was 600% what it had been before.
One of the most important things was feeling a sense that this is for me, so I recognise myself in the collection, and that's something that we've thought about a lot, whether it's the Tudor times or whether it's from today, people feeling a kind of sense of ownership for the National Portrait Gallery.
You walk through the main doors and you walk past loads of portraits and loads of people. You go to your space and it kind of gives you a sense of importance, like we are here and this is our gallery.